In 2019, I did not have any design job. In 2020, I had my first full-time UX design job. And the crucial thing was, the thing I did was not to get a new insight and change my whole strategy. It was to actually stop making the same errors over and over again. That is why, as Seneca said, to err is human. To repeat errors is of devil. But why is repeating the same error a work of devil? It doesn't make any sense, because when we are a beginner in something like UX design, we have to make many mistakes before we get better at them. It's like a baby learning to walk, they have to fall many times. So why is making an error basically a sign of a devil or an evil work? I believe what Seneca says starts to make sense when we consider, let's say, doing a mistake that we learn is a mistake, but then doing it again. So you knowingly repeat the errors of your race where you could have actually fixed them. Back in 2019, I was actually at the final interview stage for this education platform company, and they were a software for basically teachers who teach in classrooms between 8th and 12th grade. And I was at the final stage of the interview. Already the design challenge was done, and they went with a different candidate, because the different candidate, while we had the same UX design skills, they were a teacher themselves. Meaning they were the ideal users the company was trying to actually design for. So they had an unfair advantage. This was one of the mistakes I did, and I failed to get a job in 2019 because I did not apply for jobs that I had an unfair advantage. For example, and it took me, let's say, a year for me to identify what my unfair advantages were, and for me, I knew how to program and I could work in small companies because I had done it before. And once I applied for companies that actually needed me, and I had unfair advantages compared to other potential candidates, I received offers very fast, under 3 months. Next, I was only applying for 30 jobs in 2019. I basically had a list and said, okay, let me just apply to 30 to 40 jobs and get my first UX design job. And the problem was, that was the wrong expectation. It actually took me roughly 250 jobs to apply after I optimized everything to let's actually get 2-3 offers. The problem I had was I had set the wrong expectations. So a quick research on what kind of an average number of jobs I had to apply, and the answer is roughly 80, would be really crucial at this time for me to actually get a better perspective. Do you remember those 30 to 40 jobs I applied in 2019? Well, I got lucky and I got my first interview, and it was for a company in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And I went to the first interview, and the interviewer asked me, hey, what kind of weaknesses do you have? And I mumbled. And every other question went as well, where I would say or huh, or let's say mumble, because I did not prepare for the initial interviews. I did not get those flashcards. I did not write the answers that they would, because in the initial interviews, for the phone interviews, the questions are standardized. They are gonna ask you, tell me about yourself. They are gonna ask you, what are your weaknesses? They are gonna ask you, let's say, tell me about the problem you had with a colleague. These are all standard questions that with a quick Google search, you could find the ideal answers to and just pass. And I failed the interview in the first stage because I did not prepare. Next, in the early months of 2019, I had just finished my first portfolio, and I was smart enough to show it to a, let's say, senior designer to get their feedback. So I went through this old website similar to Mentor Cruise and found a senior designer in New York, and we went on to a call, and they told me, the moment they looked at my portfolio in a minute, they said, hey, your UX design skills are pretty good. You are lacking UI design skills, so how about you just go through these sites like Screenlane or Dribble and copy some of the designs that you like so that you can improve your design skills. I said, yes, I will do that, and I didn't. I told myself I already spent so much time on my portfolio and my UI design skills are pretty good. He is wrong. Basically, I was defensive and I couldn't accept that feedback because it would be so much work to update that portfolio again. And I had to update it again, not just once but twice. Last mistake I did actually takes us back back to my second year in university, and it is 2017 when I realized I want to be a UX designer, but I just don't take the first step till 2019. I don't do any side projects, I don't Google how to get started in UX design or anything. It's just something I do as a hobby, and I can't admit I want this to be my career because I am afraid I won't know what to do after the first step. What if I can't get my initial internships? What if my design skills don't improve or other stuff? And it made me lose 2-3 years of advancements in career if I actually had started earlier. So don't be like me. If you're at the first stage of your career, and not even a career, if you don't even have your first job and you just look at the senior designers in Google, Facebook, or lead designers in those companies, and you're asking yourself, how can I reach there? Just take the first step. The other steps actually gets shown to you as you take your first and then your second and the third. You never find the optimal path without starting on the path. Like, I had to get my first UX design job here to actually find out, okay, what else do I want to do in my career? And I now get better answers because I got this job and I actually did, and the other opportunities start to open up. So those are the 5 reasons that you will fail to get a UX design job. But if you also want to find out what to do instead and not just what not to do, please watch this video next that will help you become a UX designer this year.